Philippine Business Review, your daily source for the most critical stories in the financial world. Tune in next time for the latest financial news impacting the world economy.
Zhang Yisui, the spokesperson for the third Chinese session of the 13th National People's Congress, said China will complete the goals of poverty alleviation as scheduled this year, despite the impact of the pandemic. The official said the pandemic had taken a toll on economic activities, production, and people's lives, and also presents new challenges and difficulties to China's fight against poverty. Zhang said important measures have been put forward to support the employment of poor laborers, boost sales of products in poor regions, support resumption of local industries and projects, and provide assistance to those who are impoverished or fall back to poverty as a result of the pandemic. Zhang assured these measures will minimize the damages caused by the pandemic, and China's target on poverty alleviation will surely be met as scheduled. Zhang added once this is realized, it'll be a milestone in the cause of poverty reduction both in China and in the world.
Aid preparations in the Bangladesh capital of Dhaka has changed this year amid an imposed lockdown due to the coronavirus. Bangladesh has been on lockdown since March 26, and this has been extended until May 31st, affecting the religious celebration with fewer shops being allowed to open to curb the spread of the virus. At a shopping mall known for selling traditional clothes for women, shop owners were feeling the brunt of losses, with very few people buying garments that are worn during the celebrations.
Protesters gathered in Rome to demand financial help from the government as Italy, one of the worst countries hit by the virus, reopens after months of strict lockdowns. Many waving the national flag, dozens of Mascherine Tricolori members gathered in central Piazza del Popolo, asking the government of Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte for help. Rome has forecast the economy will contract by at least 8% this year as a result of the epidemic, but last week the Italian government approved the long-delayed $59.6 billion stimulus package aimed at helping Italy's battered businesses and struggling families survive the crisis. The package, which follows an initial €25 billion package introduced in March, includes a mix of grants and tax breaks to help firms ride out the downturn. It also offers help to families, includes subsidies for childcare and incentives to boost the ravaged tourism sector. In Milan, Italy's financial capital, residents ventured out on a sunny day for some fresh air and sunshine at the artificial lake. The Civil Protection Agency said the total death toll since the outbreak now stands at 32,616. However, statisticians believe Italy, like many other countries, has suffered considerably more deaths than the virus than its official data suggests, because many casualties were never tested.
Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro has said he will sign off a $10.72 billion federal aid program for states and cities hit by coronavirus, but asked governors for support freezing public sector pay increases. The bill to distribute federal money to states and municipalities was approved by Congress earlier this month. However, Bolsonaro has not signed off on it due to pressure from Economy Minister Paulo Guedes, an avowed free marketer who wants more fiscal austerity. Bolsonaro is under growing pressure for his handling of the outbreak, which looks set to destroy the Brazilian economy and threatens his re-election hopes. In the coming days, Brazil is likely to become the world number 2 in terms of confirmed coronavirus cases, behind to the United States. Rio de Janeiro's government has vowed to have 7 field hospitals established to take in coronavirus patients, but so far, only one site on the grounds of the Maracana Stadium is operational. Of the promised 1,300 hospital beds, only 200 have been delivered so far.
The more than a century-old car rental firm Hertz Global Holdings Incorporated filed for bankruptcy protection after its business was decimated during the pandemic, and talks with creditors failed to result in much-needed relief. Hertz's board earlier in the day approved the company seeking Chapter 11 protection in U.S. bankruptcy court in Delaware. According to court records, the company said its international operating regions, including Europe, Australia, and New Zealand, were not included in the proceedings. The firm, whose largest shareholder is billionaire investor Carl Icahn, with a nearly 39% ownership stake, is reeling from government orders restricting travel and requiring citizens to remain home. A large portion of Hertz's revenue comes from car rentals at airports, which have all but evaporated as potential customers eschew planned travel. With nearly $19 billion in debt and 38,000 employees worldwide as the end of 2019, Hertz is among the largest companies to be undone by the pandemic. The public health crisis has also caused a cascade of bankruptcies or Chapter 11 preparations among companies dependent on consumer demand, including retailers, restaurants, and oil and gas firms. U.S. airlines have so far avoided similar fates after receiving billions of dollars in government aid, and an avenue Hertz has explored without success. The Estero, Florida-based company, which operates Hertz, Dollar, and Thrifty car rentals, had been in talks with creditors after skipping significant car lease payments due in April. Forbearance and waiver agreements on the missed payments were set to expire on May the 22nd. Hertz has about $1 billion of cash.
As Italy eases its lockdown measures, the Amalfi Coast remained empty, waiting for visitors to come. The pastel-colored houses on the mountainside in the town El Positano is one of the most iconic images of the Amalfi Coast and a magnet for writers, movie stars, and honeymooners from around the world. But for now, Positano's beauty is for its residents to enjoy. The silence of the town is broken by the sound of waves on its empty beach. The COVID-19 pandemic brought major changes in global tourism, where social distancing and hygiene will be priority. Italy, one of the countries hardest hit by the pandemic, began easing restrictions, but Italians are still not allowed to travel outside their regions, and foreign travel has ground to a halt. The Italian government has allowed for individual regions to choose the date that beaches can open to the public again, but Campania, where the Amalfi Coast falls under, is still waiting. Italy is heavily dependent on tourism, which accounts for 13% of GDP and employs around 13% of the country's total workforce. It has been hit hard by the pandemic, which forced borders to close, restaurants and hotels to shut, and airlines to ground flights. According to think tank Nomisma, around 500,000 summer jobs could be at risk this year due to fallout from the virus, while 100 billion euros could be lost as holidaymakers stay away. Italy's roughly 8,000 kilometers long coastline, home to around 11,000 beach businesses, accounts for 37% of tourist revenue. That share is much higher in islands like Sicily and Sardinia and the less wealthy south. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is planning to reduce Chinese telecoms equipment maker Huawei Technologies Company Limited's involvement in Britain's 5G network in the wake of the coronavirus crisis. Johnson has asked officials to make plans to reduce China's involvement in British infrastructure to zero by the year 2023. The Prime Minister is expected to use less reliance on China as a means to boost trade talks with US President Donald Trump in the aftermath of Britain's departure from the European Union. The Times reported that Johnson has instructed civil servants to make plans to end Britain's reliance on China for vital medical supplies and other strategic imports. Beijing has been facing mounting international criticism of its handling of the coronavirus outbreak, which began in China before spreading to the rest of the world. Huawei and Downing Street did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The development would be a change of direction for Britain, which in late April confirmed it would allow Huawei to have a role in building the country's 5G phone network. Britain decided in January to allow Huawei into what the government said were non-sensitive parts of the network, keeping its involvement at 35%. The United States, a key ally of Britain, has raised security concerns about Huawei equipment and warned that allies that use it in their networks risked being cut off from valuable intelligence sharing feeds.
This has been Business Review, your daily source for the most critical financial stories. Tune in next time for the latest financial news impacting the world economy.